AgWeek Weather is sponsored by Bremer Bank. Connect with a banker today at bremer.com.
Are these frigid temps here to stay? Here's Lydia with our Agri-weather outlook.
Within the past week, the Climate Prediction Center has officially said La Nina is here. We are now under a La Nina advisory. That's what happens when La Nina conditions are observed. So what exactly are La Nina conditions? Well, it's at least 1 month of sea surface temperatures out in the Pacific Ocean reading below average. That started to happen in December. It has now lasted for over a month, and therefore we are in La Nina, which can give us an indication of how the rest of the winter is shaping up. Right now, we're looking at a 59% chance of La Nina conditions lasting from February to April of 2025. And then a transition to neutral is 60% likely, which is a pretty good bet, from March to May of 2025. I wanted to give you a visualization of what exactly does La Nina mean and how does it impact our weather, especially here in the northern plains. Well, you've got this cold water. That's where your sea surface temperatures are reading below average. That impacts where the jet stream lines up. That tends to leave this part of the jet out across the western parts of the United States kind of bumped up to the north. So that jet is staying to the north. That allows for a lot of dry weather out on the west coast, which of course is impacting and fueling some of those wildfires that we're hearing about out in California. Last winter, when we had El Nino conditions, this area had wet and stormy pattern throughout the course of the winter while we were kind of on the mild side for a winter. Now this is different. When you have this bump in the jet stream like this, it allows all of this colder air near the Hudson Bay to seep its way southward, and that tends to give us colder and below average temperatures as we finish out the rest of the winter here. You will, of course, have mild days, mild stretches in there, but the overall pattern is going to be below average. And you can see that when you look at these kind of prediction maps, these outlook maps. A lot of us across most of the country here dealing with below average temperatures or even near average temperatures. I want you to picture that same bump in the jet stream, allowing for things to be warmer and drier out at the west coast, while we here closer to home are, of course, below average. When you have that gray, that means typically near average, and this time of year, a lot of that leads to temperatures in the teens for at least North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota. Obviously, average changes as you travel further off to the south. It gets a little bit warmer. Over the next week or so, we are looking at some passes of snow in the northern parts of the plains. Nothing that I think is going to accumulate or bring us great moisture or reverse any sort of drought conditions, but that same bump in the jet stream allows for some of those passes of snow out of Canada to work their way in our direction. As we finish out the month of January, we are still looking at near to below average temperatures for a good portion of the country, kind of a colder start to February expected, and at least above or near average chances for precipitation. Again, I don't see any big moisture makers with this, but at least some little bits of snow to continue to bring in the chance at moisture as we continue to wrap up winter and eventually head towards spring.